What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports NBA Hardwood Show. I'm your host, Mangone. I'm here with Hoop. I'm here with JT Hayes. I'm also here with someone who's sweeter than me, JT, Mr. Winnie the Pooh in the background there. So we're having a good time. It's a Friday. Pumped to be here with JT Hayes. You were getting your hair ready all for the show. That's what took a little bit of time. So our apologies, everyone. But let's shift on over to you, JT. How is it going? How is your Friday?
It's always a good Friday. I feel like I say this every week. It's always a good Friday where I get to spend some time with sweet Travis and Hoop, the GPP stud, just amazing. And BMAC, I understand it's a Friday in Florida. The tequila and the hookers are flowing early, but no, I did not have to do my hair. Just wanted to make you guys wait, honestly. Wanted to build up anticipation for a fantastic Friday show. Let's get the likes up. It is a special day. I'm not going to tell you what it is just yet, but it's the anniversary of something very special of one of our coordinators. You guys can guess it in chat, but hit the like button. We get up to 275, and I'll let you know what it was.
Yeah, JT has me cracking up. I have a request for the producer. If he can somehow make a sweet Travis graphic with some candy and stuff by the end of the show, if you could pull that off, I would love to see that. We could all be surprised if you can make a really good sweet Travis graphic for me at the end of the show. Hoop, let's go on over to you. I mean, it's been a while since you hung out with JT, right? You're off last week. We had the holidays. JT was off in Montana, so you pumped to be here with the people and dive into this really amazing 9-game slate. Hoop.
Yeah, my last couple Fridays just haven't been complete. I mean, this completes the rotation for me on Fridays when I come on the show and I get to see Mr. JT Hayes. And, we've missed each other. He was on an extravaganza with the wife. I was out last week, but now we reconnect. Good mojo all around. Tons to look forward to this weekend. We got PGA, we got NBA, MMA is back, NFL playoffs. It's a good time. It's a good feeling. We're going upwards, boys, to the top of these leaderboards. So let's get it.
Yep, going upwards towards those top of the leaderboards. And speaking of going upwards towards the top of the boards, Saberson will help you do that. And we had some videos of it. We had a video yesterday with AP, BigT, and Jordan breaking that all down. So if you want to go back and watch that, it's under the past shows, but don't do it right now. I mean, you're hanging out with us. So that's something you can definitely do. And also BigT did a little Q&A at around 12:45. So that is also there in the past shows channel. So you can be sure to check that out. Definitely going to be a great time if you watch that. I already went back. I watched the AP BigT version, and I got to watch the Q&A one now. So I got that on the calendar to do, along with all the other things that we have over at Run Pure Sports this weekend. I mean, it's a massive, massive weekend here. All the sports for one price. Let me just break it all down, and then you can kind of go into the spiel. But tomorrow we got NFL, obviously. I think MMA is back with a bit of a shorter card, but it's back. So we got 2 games. We also got the 3-gamer on Sunday. And then we got Monday Night Football. We got Showdown. We'll have some massive contests. And it's also MLK Day, where we'll have NBA games all day long. I mean, if you are a sports fan, how do you not sign up for Run Pure Sports?
Yeah, I mean, there's certain times of the year where, being an RPS member is really going to pay off, and this is it. I mean, there's so many things going on, all the sports, one price. NASCAR starting up soon, and I know the NASCAR stuff is the craziest to me because there's sites that charge like $400 or $500 just for NASCAR content, which is absolutely insane to me. Anyone would pay that because we have the best NASCAR team in the industry. Matty Ice, Coop, Mikey breaking down every single race. We got the guys covering the trucks. We got the guys covering the Xfinity races. And that starts up in a couple weeks along with everything else. We have you covered, like I said. I mean, every single sport, one price. You really can't beat it. As far as I know, we're probably the only site in the industry that really does that. Everyone else nickel and dimes you every time a new sport starts. Keep it simple. One low price all year round. And right now it's great value with everything going on.
JT Hayes, are you excited for this NFL weekend? I don't know if were you on the old guys pod? Did you give all your takes? Where can the people find JT Hayes football takes if they want to find it this week?
Yeah, they let me on the old guys pod, even though I'm much, much younger than any of those bastards. But it's fine. It's great. And I was on there. We talked about it. Look, it's great because you've got a 6-game slate if you wanted to play the whole thing, a little bit smaller prize pools. But then you've got the 2-game slate on Saturday. I think there's a milli maker there. I know there's a milli maker on the 3-gamer on Sunday. And then you've got a showdown slate on Monday that's going to have huge prizes. First time ever that there's been an NFL game on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And where can you get my NFL takes? Yeah, we talked a little bit about it on the Old Guys Pod, the Wishbone. And I'm also going to be writing up the Gem Finders 3-game slate for Sunday. That'll be up sometime late tomorrow afternoon. So you can look out for that, see what I'm thinking about the Sunday slate.
Yeah, they can always grab me in the Discord chat too, but you don't stay in there all day. We gotta, I mean, Discord's great and all, but you can't be there 24/7, right? Down, but if they need you to, they can find you in that Discord chat as well, right, JT?
Yeah, it's more like a hit and run thing for me now. I used to spend a little bit more time in there, but now I like to get in, interact with a couple of people, and then quickly, boom, go off and do some more things. Because the longer you stay in there, topics can get crazy. I mean, today I jumped in there real quick this morning, and they were talking about PayPal and serious issues with PayPal and daily fantasy sports. It was a little bit too heavy for a Friday morning. Then someone wanted to know if you should drink absinthe. And I was going to be like, is this 1879? But I didn't really want to engage. So I just, boom, I hopped out. And then I came back later and I saw you in there. Sweet Travis, asking, I don't really know why anybody's surprised about John Conchar, to which I said, fuck you. So, I mean, it was a great day in Discord so far.
Yeah, and then you bolted after that. We did talk about Chartman. Here's one more thing I want to mention before we dive into the slate. And maybe I'm stalling because I don't think it's the greatest 9-game slate. But remember K Falik? He kept saying over and over, oh, I can't with all the news and everything. COVID feels over in the NBA for the most part, right? Like, we demand charts. I think they have to be coming. If they're not here soon, I don't know what's going to happen to them. But we gotta take a stand here against Falik.
It's very clear. I mean, K Falik, he's just too rich for the charts. He doesn't need to waste his time on the charts. Too much money. The guy is just absolutely loaded. The charts are secondary to his financial situation, unfortunately for us.
It's just a shame when you see someone where, he was known as the chart man and he just lost himself along the way, JT. So I'm demanding some charts. I want them back, but who knows? Maybe we'll get them. Maybe we won't.
Need the charts. And, he whips those things up so quickly. That he's got like templates, like 70 different templates. And the members ask him, boom, boom, boom. He enters a couple of formulas in a little Excel spreadsheet and boom, out pops a beautiful chart. He's been depriving the members. I think it's a little bit, honestly, it's a little bit attention seeking. I think he wants members to keep asking and give him a little bit of love. So do that. So DM K Falik at K Falik in the NBA channel, all the way up until lock, asking for your favorite chart dealing with tonight's slate. I am certain that if enough of you do that, he will come through.
Yes, it's Falik Friday. So hit him up with that. Hit the @ on K Falik. Let him know in the Discord chat what your favorite chart is, and he will maybe deliver it for you. But that's a lot of nonsense. One last thing before we dive into the slate. This isn't nonsense. We got to hit that like button. We got to subscribe to the channel, that little red button that's below JT's beautiful face, to check out the Wishbone podcast. It's on this channel. When you subscribe to the channel, you get notified when it goes live. So be sure to do that. Or if you don't want those notifications, just turn that bell off. And what happens is when you hit that YouTube page, instead of having to go to the page and type in Run Pure Sports and do all that nonsense, it's just there towards the top when we're live or when it's like coming up. So, the YouTube algorithm will be kind to you, and you won't have to get those notifications unless you want them. But let's dive in. Let's talk about the slate. We've stalled enough. Hoop, I said I don't like this slate, and I basically said on that 1-3 gamer I liked it, and you made fun of me. So here we are. It's a 9 gamer, and I'm not in love with it. We'll see how it all shakes out as we dive in. Maybe we'll get some news that makes me like it more, but at this time, I do not love it. And we got 4 games locking to start. We got the Sixers and the Celtics, and I'll let you take it away because this feels like a better game to just kind of watch. You could play Embiid, you could play some of these studs, but I don't think I'm jamming guys in from this game. How about you?
Yeah, it's kind of a weird slate. I mean, 9-game slate, you can usually bank on it being relatively good from a fantasy standpoint. We're able to dig in and find some good plays. This is just a weird slate where we don't have really that many superstars, a lot of guys that are pretty overpriced, some very unappealing games, a lot of teams that we don't like to target for DFS purposes. And it's just kind of where we're at tonight. So it's going to be difficult, I think, to really go through and make teams. And then on top of it, we don't have like a ton of standout value or really any value as it stands now. Some value, some mid-tier guys, but not those cheap guys that we can just lock into our lineup. So hoping to get some news on the slate to kind of, straighten it out for us. As it stands now, not all that great. This game, like you said, yeah, definitely one that's more appealing from just an entertainment standpoint than a DFS standpoint, with Boston pretty close to full strength with the exception of Marcus Smart being out. It's just not a great team for fantasy purposes. We talk about it all season. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, just not the greatest match. Like it just doesn't fit, doesn't work. They did both have pretty big games last time out, but this is a low total, 207. So not much interest here on the Boston side. And then on the 76ers side, it's kind of gotten to the point where when they're close to full strength, the only guy you can really consider is Embiid. And, the argument for Embiid is that this is a close spread, 3.5. If it stays close, he could absolutely go off in this spot. So, yeah, really the only play for me in this game is Embiid, and he's not going to be a priority for me. So, yeah, just not a great one here out of the gate.
All right, JT, maybe you can sell us on this one, but I'm having trouble here. Philadelphia and the Boston Celtics. It seems like a fun game. It's the city of brotherly love. I don't really want to go to this one though, JT. I think I'm out. How about you?
Yeah, not a ton of love for this game for all the reasons that Hope mentioned. 207 total, two teams outside of Marcus Smart that are basically fully healthy. Jason Tatum's price does stand out to me a little bit, 9.3 on DraftKings in MME. I'll probably throw him in a lineup where I like all the other pieces, but I think you can get replacement value at center tonight. I don't see this being an Embiid 70, 75 point game, and that's kind of what he needs to hurt you on this slate. So probably going to be out on the Sixers.
All right, let's shift on over to the next game. Let's talk about the Suns and the Pacers with a 219.5 total. Pacers, they are at home, which that helps them out a little bit. They are dogs, though, in this spot to the Phoenix Suns. The Suns, they're playing faster, which kind of helps some of these guys. We need some injury news on this game. That's going to be very important. Hoop, what are you doing with this one? Because I think it could be a game that you could make an argument for. There could be some good options. We also could have some injury news like Cam Johnson's injury. We got Malcolm Brogdon. So we need some news on that, but it's a game that you could talk yourself into maybe taking pieces, but not one that I want to load up on. What are you doing here with the Suns and the Pacers?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, guys that I'm okay playing in this game, mostly on the Phoenix side, not core play type guys like Chris Paul at 7.9 on DraftKings. Like if I landed on Chris Paul, I'd be fine. I mean, this game, it does have a 220 total, so it's up there a little bit. Suns are only favored by 5.5. Devin Booker, I think you can make the case for him in tournaments. Ayton, the price is up there a little bit. We had Jay Crowder the other night as a really good value. Well, they bumped his price up as well to 4.9K. It's kind of an uncomfortable price point for a guy like Jay Crowder, despite him coming off the big game. And for the most part, this team is pretty damn healthy, which makes it tough to come here all season long. Like last year, we weren't playing these Suns guys when they're at full strength, and it's kind of the same. They have a very similar roster this season. So not a ton to like here. Chris Paul would be my favorite Phoenix play. And then on the Pacers side, we just have to wait on the news. Malcolm Brogdon is officially questionable. I guess that's the one big piece. But even if he misses, I don't know if I'm seeing like any standout plays. Miles Turner maybe at 5.8. I mean, I think I could go there, but LeVert is 8.3K. Sabonis is 10.1K. And then like the rest of these guys, you just don't know who's going to be the productive guy. So I guess anywhere for me on the Pacers side would be Miles Turner. So my two favorites in this game, Turner, Chris Paul, not priorities, not core plays, last guy in, and I'm fine type plays.
All right, JT. So far we already are noticing it's kind of a difficult slate. And this is why we have you. This is why we bring in the heavy hitter. The parents of all the NBA players. You got all the inside info for us. And not only that, we got Domantas Sabonis, and Sabonis had a dad who was in the league. So you might even know Arvydas Sabonis's parents as well. So you might have some real good insight on this game. The Suns and the Pacers is definitely one that I'm not in love with, but there are some stars that you can get in your lineup. Who brought up a good point about Chris Paul's price? I mean, this is not a day that I'm looking to just go spend up and grab a LeBron James or a Jokic or a Giannis. It does feel like a good day maybe to live with some of these mid-tier stars. And maybe Chris Paul is one of those guys in this range. How do you handle this game here, Jason?
Yeah, the interesting thing about this slate is there's not the Giannis or Jokic's on this slate. I think Sabonis is maybe the second or third highest priced player here that you're going to find on the slate. 10-1, a little bit expensive for this matchup, I think. I generally this season have, for the most part, shied away from playing guys against the Suns. Even in that matchup the other night against the Raptors, where the Raptors were missing bodies, it was really the lower price guys that got there. Boucher, who got there off the bench. And I think much like we saw Boucher running around, getting all the rebounds with his athleticism, I think this is a decent matchup for Miles Turner. I'm always a little bit more interested in him when he dips below the 6K price tag on DraftKings. He becomes more of a nice value play to where if he doesn't go crazy and get you 30, you're okay. Now, the concern here is the minutes have been a little bit lower. Maybe they bump up because you have DeAndre Ayton on the other side, but we'll see what happens there. So 5-8 for him. I don't think anyone, though, in this game is a priority.
Yeah, definitely don't think there's everyone's a priority, but there's guys that you can mix and match throughout your lineups. Let's go over to this next game. And the reason why we got it, Des is talking in the chat. He said, we need Mo Bamba news, which, man, I agree. Mo Bamba news would be really, really important here. It's definitely something that I hope we get. We might get in 25 minutes out of that first report. We typically get the NBA injury report around 5:30. So yeah, that'll be important. Also, that's when the press conferences happen. So we might get some kind of news there. But let's talk about this here, because this is a game that it's at a 223.5 total. Charlotte Hornets, they're 11-point favorites, and the Orlando Magic, they are a bit shorthanded. And if you're missing a Mo Bamba, this could be really interesting because it'll be load up on Robin Lopez Day, as crazy as that sounds, against the Charlotte Hornets, where they are terrible against big men. Hoop, you're obviously great at identifying value. You'll always have the good value plays on the cash chart to mix and match throughout your lineups. What are you doing here with the Mo Bamba news and some of the other options in this game, like LaMelo Ball at the top, with the studs being a little rough tonight?
Yeah, I mean, LaMelo's, I think, definitely one of the guys that you can consider. I mean, we know the risk with them. Like they for some reason are not willing to give him a full complement of minutes. However, the last couple games, 36 minutes, so we're starting to see that. But the production has not been there. Today is, as it's shaping up now, is more of just like raw points type thing. Like, what can these guys get me? You don't need to take the risk with some of these values. We don't have the studs to pay up for. So a guy like LaMelo should get you somewhere around, 40 to 50 fantasy points. You'll take that on this slate as it stands now and, get the hell out of the way. So LaMelo's fine. Miles Turner, I think it's fine. I've been hesitant to pay 8K for him, but he's been pretty steady, right around 40 fantasy points. I think he's okay. PJ Washington, just the way this slate shapes up. I mean, the Hornets are projected to score 118 points tonight. It's one of the highest numbers on the slate. Getting some exposure here, I do think makes sense. Now, on the Magic side, we have to wait on the news, like you said, of Wendell Carter. If he's out, everyone would get a little boost. Mo Bamba, Cole Anthony, all fringe type plays. But this is a slate where we're really digging and trying to find something. So yeah, it doesn't seem like much with Wendell Carter being questionable, but some of the bigger news that we're waiting for to open up some opportunity here for some Magic guys.
Yeah, we definitely want to get this news. It'll be important. And I think like a Cole Anthony at 7-8, I mean, he had a really, really rough first half the other day, and then boom, just came out of nowhere, had a huge second half. And this is a spot where, yeah, you worry about LaMelo Ball defensively. You can be a nag sometimes at the pace they play at. Like, who cares? It's not a huge issue. I think overall, the Charlotte Hornets and the Orlando Magic are looking like a game to get some exposure to. I mean, Franz Wagner at 5.9K, that feels a little cheap. Chuma Okeke at 4.9K. With those minutes that he could see, if you have Bamba out, it feels like he has a pretty decent floor at his price. And it's one of those slates where I don't think you're going to need like a 350 or a 340 to win this slate. It doesn't feel like that'll be the score where an Okeke could make a lot of sense here in this spot. And then the chat's talking about Terry Rozier. I mean, he's been balling out. If you look at those game logs, I mean, the guy's had over 30 fantasy points in like his last like 5 games. And the usage has been good in the minutes. I mean, the key is the minutes. I mean, you look at that. He had 31, 28, 34, 39, and then 40. He's been playing pretty well, shooting efficiently. JT, this is a game that I know it's a rough slate, but it's got a lot of good fantasy options here. How are you handling this one?
Definitely interested in some of the pieces here. As I watched with disgust at Gordon Hayward going off the other night, kind of went back and looked outside of the fact that Philadelphia on even this slate, I think giving up the second most fantasy points to opposing small forwards. It's the absence of Kelly Oubre. So you have minutes as well as production that are not in that Charlotte lineup that are going to be taken over by others, especially in a game against the Magic, who give up one of the most amount of fantasy points in the game right now. So it's definitely a good spot. You do have to pick and choose. Now, Hayward was 13 of 16 from the field the other night. I don't think that's going to repeat itself, but PJ Washington at 4-7 is someone, 4-7 on DraftKings is someone I'm very interested in here on this slate. You mentioned Franz Wagner on the Orlando side. I like him a lot, under 6K, and I think the guard situation there, I don't think Cole Anthony's minutes are at risk here, but with Jalen Suggs back coming off the bench, all those other guys, the Harrises, the Terrence Ross, their minutes are going to be just cut a little bit with Suggs coming back. It's not a situation that I want to attack. We'll have to see what happens with Mo Bamba, because lately this hasn't been the greatest matchup for opposing centers. Now that PJ is back healthy and getting 24, 25 minutes a game, I think it's a little bit more difficult. So I don't know if I'd have interest in Robin Lopez, but Mason Plumlee also is only 4.1. And the matchup against Orlando is one that he and PJ Washington can certainly exploit, whether or not Bamba's in or out.
Yeah. And one more thing. I mean, you know what we need? We need K Falik to give us a chart to understand, does Franz Wagner maybe play some small ball lineups at the 4? I think that's what the people need to know, JT, because maybe that gives him a little bit of bump in his minutes if Mo Bamba's out. So hit K Falik with an @ in the chat. Maybe I'll do it to kind of get some momentum going and make sure we get those charts. Are there any other charts you're looking for, JT, coming up here in these games that K Falik can maybe do for us before we get into the other games?
Yeah, I'm sure there are. As we go game by game, what we should do is each of us should take turns with the game saying, hey, what chart would be helpful? See if K Falik will do it. And remember, you got to tag him in the Discord with these chart requests.
All right, let's dive in and go over to the next game. And this is the last game that starts at 7 o'clock. So we'll have a nice little gap between then until the next game. It's just the Warriors and Bulls that'll be at that one spot. So maybe backloading a little bit is a move to go to today if you don't like some of the early stuff. But we're going to go to the guy that knows Detroit sports better than anyone. That's our boy Hoop, breaking down the Pistons against the Raptors. I mean, Hoop, it's a gross slate. So like if there was a time to maybe do an onslaught of the Pistons, right? Would it be against the Raptors? I mean, the Raptors are playing faster. The usage has been good for Fred VanVleet. It's been good for Pascal Siakam. They're two studs that you can just overpay for and then mix and match some Pistons in your lineup. So if I needed to do that, I got to go to Hoop to give me those answers.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reason why you just have to love Sweet Travis, JT. I mean, he's had this same bit. I mean, me and Mangone have been doing shows for years now, and he's had the same bit every single time that a Detroit sports team is on the slate. You just got to love it. The persistence. It's just a thing of beauty. Wouldn't you agree?
He wants a Pistons onslaught. Has anyone tried a Pistons onslaught when they've been fully healthy against a team that I don't like taking guys against? I don't know. Let's play a Pistons onslaught tonight. Who you got?
In honor of Mangone's persistence with that, I need to get him like a jersey from all the Detroit sports teams. I got to get him a Pistons jersey, a Lions jersey, Red Wings, Tigers. But yeah, for DFS purposes, this game, I think there are some plays. I mean, kind of site specific. Cade Cunningham on FanDuel is only 6K. I think he's a play there. Wouldn't touch him on DK at 7.6. And then on the Raptor side, waiting on some news here. I mean, we got to see what happens with Gary Trent and Scotty Barnes. If Trent's in, I actually like him quite a bit. He's 5K on FanDuel, 5.3 on DraftKings. And the thing with these Raptors guys, if they're in, they're playing a shit ton of minutes. And that's just always the case. That's what you're going to get. So if Gary Trent is in, I like him. If Barnes is in, I don't mind him either. Now, if both those guys are out, I'm fine going right back to OG, 6.5K on DraftKings. And like I said, with the Trent thing, these guys just play a ton of minutes. It's the same with every one of their starters. 40 minutes for OG last game when these guys were out. 32 fantasy points on this slate. We can't be picky. We really can't be picky. We just need guys that can get close to value. And if both those guys are out, OG at 6.5K is a fine option. Now, the rest of the guys, it gets tough. Like Fred VanVleet, 10K. Yes, Fred VanVleet's been playing great. It's a game they're favored by 10, though. Definitely some risk. Siakam, been playing well also. 9.5K, though. I just don't think I can pay these price tags for these guys. Now, if Trent and Barnes are out, maybe they come in the conversation a little bit more. So a game really kind of have to wait on this news on the Raptor side. And then the Pistons, just Cade on FanDuel. Real nice price tag, 6K for him.
Yeah, those FanDuel price tags are pretty interesting, especially the Cade one at 6K. I will say the great comment in the chat. It was Tim. He said the last Pistons onslaught was the Malice at the Palace. So that's a pretty good one by him in the chat.
You want to know the fun fact of that night? That night, JT will appreciate this. That night of the Malice at the Palace, it was a Friday night. I was bowling in a men's league. I bowled my first ever 300 the night of the Malice at the Palace. So little fun fact there for you guys.
Were you and G Rising on the same team?
No.
Okay. All right.
not a teammate of G Rising's, unfortunately.
Oh man, I was gonna say there might be a duo of Hoop and G Rising coming to a bowling alley near you, taking things down. But
yeah,
what do you want to do with this game? I like some Fred VanVleet. The usage he's been getting, and it's a rough slate at the top. He was very hurtful last time, but he's been pretty good to me. So I think you can go back to him, and I think Pascal Siakam's fine at 9.32 over on DraftKings, but they're not guys I'm jamming in my lineups. But it is the Pistons. Like, the Pistons are bad. The Pistons are like the best team to attack in DFS, and even if it blows out, you feel good about those Raptors getting their minutes. And if it does blow out, I feel like one of those guys gets the job done.
Yeah, I think it was last Friday, Mingo, in that the Raptors were playing the very, very shorthanded Utah Jazz in a spot where the Raptors absolutely should have won by 60 points. And your play of the day was Fred VanVleet, and he ended up with like 76 because they just could not get it going against the shorthanded Jazz. Now, this Detroit team, I will say, they play hard. This is a very difficult matchup against the Raptors. That, 10.5 spread is certainly something that I think is more concerning if you have Barnes in, if you have Trent in. So I think that news is really big here. On the Pistons side, one guy who's been playing well, nobody ever plays him. And you look at his price point, you say it's up a little bit. His price was up around 8,500 about a week and a half ago. Sadiq Bey at 7-1, not someone that's a priority, not someone I'm going to force into a lot of lineups, but if I'm multi-entering, I'm going to have some here because that's kind of the matchup where I want to target. We saw it with Jay Crowder the other night where they can give up some points.
Yeah, people in the chat, they're saying like, big guards bother Fred VanVleet, like, and Bridges was on him. Yeah, well, like, Bridges is like one of the best defenders in the league. Like, sure, yes, that makes sense. Like, he's going to have he can struggle, but the point is he's just not going to have any ownership. It's just simple. So when he goes off for a nuke and the guys at the top aren't great, that's the reason I like him. It's the usage he's getting. It's Hoop. I think we do this a lot. We look at matchups too much sometimes, but it's opportunity is more important than matchup and even talent. It's all about opportunity in DFS. I always say that. Some people in the chat, they're always like, oh, this guy's terrible. Why would I play him? Well, opportunity is like the number one thing to like in fantasy sports along with price, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the exception to that rule is the exercise guys, and we know who they are. We can identify them, the guys that are going to be out there playing 35 minutes and they really have no role. They're just running around on the court getting exercise. But more times than not, if a guy gets the opportunity, that's more important than anything else. So yes, I would agree with that point there.
Yeah, so definitely, again, not a game we're like in love with. It's okay. And news could even make it better, right? That could really help out OG at his price tag. And there are some better games later, but like, again, they're not amazing. And this next game coming up, I mean, it's fine, but like when we talk about it, man, I mean, it's not as great a value as you think. It's the Warriors and the Bulls. And when I look at this one, I see Jordan Poole has some value today with no Klay Thompson. There's no Draymond Green. And yeah, it makes some sense, but would you be shocked if the Bulls came out and just like beat the Warriors pretty bad, like they lost the other night? I wouldn't be surprised too if the Warriors beat the Bulls badly. And the reason why is the Warriors have a really wide range of outcomes. And like some of these values, I just don't trust as much. Like Juan Toscano Anderson, the other day, he was very high owned. And like, do you want to play a very high owned Juan Toscano Anderson? No, probably not. I mean, he was center eligible only, and he was 3K, and he was like 40% owned. And it's because the slate was gross.
7 minutes.
Yeah. And that's the point I'm getting at. Like, how
Yeah.
great are these values, right? Like the Warriors guys are getting, like, they're popping today. And I'm just like, okay, sure, Jordan Poole's fine, but like, I just don't buy all these Warriors value plays. I don't think they're guys you want to jam into your lineups. You can make the argument that some of these Chicago Bulls are good plays. They lost Derek Jones Jr., so now they're sliding in Troy Brown Jr., and you got Lonzo Ball, Levine, DeRozan, and Vucevic, who all have upside and are getting opportunity here, and their prices have gone down. I mean, Vucevic is now, what, 8.7K? I believe 8.7K. Got Lonzo Ball at 6.6, Levine 8.4, and DeRozan at 8.6. So those are some intriguing tags. And also, I think some of the projections sometimes they don't account for. Now there's no Draymond Green. And with no Draymond Green, that's going to change up what their defense is. They're not going to be one of these top defenses in the league. Kind of like yesterday with OKC. You saw OKC have a really big game. Well, the Nets aren't as good of a team then. I mean, you got like kind of a G League defense out there. So ultimately, I think some of these Bulls have upside to be on the winning lineup at their price tag. And then some of these Warriors values are interesting. Hoop, let me go to you because I want to get your take on these Warriors values. I mean, you already touched on it. Like, Toscano Anderson played 7 minutes, and it's like, if these guys are getting slammed into my lineups in tournaments, I don't know how much I want to go to.
Yeah, I mean, they got guys out the Warriors, so you'd assume it's a spot we can go to, but they're just one of the more unpredictable teams. And Steve Kerr's willing to change things right on the fly. We saw it the other day. Juan Toscano Anderson, 7K, starting. Okay, let's play him. Well, he played 7 minutes, never came back in the first half, and then they didn't start him in the second half. Tons of uncertainty. They have a lot of guys they're willing to use. Kuminga, Lee, Bielitsa, Porter, Iguodala. They're going to use all these guys, and whoever's playing the best is going to get the run. Who's going to be playing the best? Who the hell knows? Just makes it a tough situation for DFS. Only guy I'm really considering on the Warriors side, Poole, and maybe Steph. I mean, I don't know, 10.6K seems like a good price tag for Steph. If this game is competitive, which the spread does indicate, 3.5 point spread, it's going to be most likely through him. So I'm fine with Steph a little bit in tournaments. The Bulls side, it's a tough situation with the Bulls. They're one of these teams, and we've said it all season long. When they're at full strength, there's a lot of risk in these guys. They're at full strength, fully priced for the most part. Lonzo is 6.6K. I don't hate that price tag. I think he's in play a little bit tonight, but Levine at 8.4, DeRozan at 8.6, Vooch at 8.7, just not enough to go around for all these guys to go off. If you have a strong lean on one, roll with it, but I wouldn't be playing like all three of these guys. You're just kind of, paying the rake, I think, at that point. So for me, I'm fine with Lonzo. And maybe one of these other guys, maybe it's DeRozan tonight. He's had the ball in his the ball in his hands quite a bit recently, so maybe he's the guy you go to. I don't know though, but it's just not a great team for DFS purposes when they're at full strength. They're at full strength tonight, so it makes it pretty risky.
Yeah, definitely going to be pretty risky there, but they can get there, right? At the prices, it's a little better than it was. But again, you don't want to just, if you're going to the Saber Sim and you're like playing all three of these guys, I think it's just a mistake to do that. I think that would be the wrong approach to take. JT, how about you? I don't know what to really do with this game. I think it's a game that I want to be underweight on. How about you?
It's an interesting game because I do think there are a range of outcomes here. Both of these teams coming off absolute massive blowouts. The Bulls getting blown out by the Nets a couple of nights ago. And the Warriors were down by 30 at the half to the Bucks last night. It is a back-to-back for the Warriors. Klay Thompson is going to be out. But the one thing that stands out to me, you mentioned Vucevic's price point on DraftKings, 8.7K. I don't know if you guys saw what Bobby Portis did to this team last night. The loss of Draymond Green is massive for this team. If this game stays close, Nikola Vucevic is going to have an absolute smash game here because there's no one that can compete on the Warriors for rebounds or defend him. So that's interesting. The question is, do you think this game is going to stay close? The Warriors are so shorthanded and the Bulls have been so strong all season long. It's difficult to see that. The spread last night was just 1.5 at close, and they were down by 30 at the half. So interesting spot, lots of outcomes here. I think you can play some lineups where if you think it stays close, it's going to be Steph. It's going to be one of the big three on the Bulls. My lean here is Vucevic, the way that the Warriors have been eaten up by opposing centers without Draymond Green.
Yeah, and if the shot's not falling for Steph, that leads to some rebounds, the easy transition buckets. And even Kevon Looney, we saw foul trouble from him last night. If your boy Vucevic gets Looney into some foul trouble, that could obviously lead to some problems for the Warriors. So a lot of ways this can go. I don't think you pay up for Curry tonight, though. I don't think you have enough value to get that job done. And Hoop is laughing because Hoop, why are you laughing? Are people making fun of JT and the way he says stuff? Because Hoop, we know JT knows how to say all the names here.
Yeah, Vucevic. I mean, we go over this all the time, and the people just refuse to just believe what's really happening here. I mean, JT knows the families of these NBA. He knows the parents of these NBA players. Like, yes, the announcers say Vucevic. That's incorrect. It's Vucevic. The crowd starts chanting Vooch, Vooch, Vooch. That's incorrect. They should be chanting Voos, Voos, Voos. They got it all wrong, right, JT? Like, we got to get this Vooch thing. It's got to be transformed into Voos.
Vooch is correct because it's a nickname, right?
Okay.
Vooch, right? All right, so that's fine. The amateurs that call games on, the TNT and the NBA now, I'm not worried about those guys, right? I'm not worried about how they say anything. But more to the point, we're having fun. It's a phallic Friday. We need charts. Imagine taking the time when we're having this much fun to type in a pronunciation in the Discord chat. That is hurtful. We're nowhere near 275 likes. We're nowhere near getting the plays of the day. And that's the big part here. Nowhere near getting the plays of the day. So, we're going to do as our president said, shouted, screamed at the top of his lungs yesterday. We're going to count the vote. We're going to count the vote. We're going to count the vote of how many likes we have.
Well, let's count that vote. Let's get it to 275. And I've been told from Helmet he's working on a Sweet Travis.
Oh man. If you don't pound the like for the Sweet Travis graphic, which I did get verification from Helmet that he is working on a Sweet Travis graphic. Man, if that doesn't get you to hit the like, I don't know. I mean, you have something wrong with you.
JT, Helmet wants to know why you call me Sweet Travis. So, I don't
know if that's a story that can be told on this program. I understand there may be some children watching, but don't forget, if you want the charts, you got to add K Phallic in the Discord. Add K Phallic. Tell him we are going to count the vote for the charts.
All right, well, let's count the vote and move on to the Atlanta and Miami game. And real quick, Malcolm Brogdon, he got ruled out. We got Torrey Craig available. And this is a time where injury news is going to flow in. So let's talk about the Hawks and the Heat. And this is where we go to our ATL guy, JT Hayes, to talk about this game. Obviously, they're getting a little bit healthier, those Hawks. And then the Heat, we need Jimmy Butler news. I mean, that could be of value here. So what do you want to do with this game, JT? I think the Hawks are a team that I don't love. I think Okongwu's okay as a value play on FanDuel specifically. And then I think this Heat news could be really helpful on this slate and could give us some, exposure to some guys in the mid-tier that are pretty interesting options.
Yeah, it's probably the Atlanta fan in me that thinks that the Hawks might be able to compete in this game. I think it's more likely, especially if Butler is back, that this is going to go much the same way as the game went the other night in Atlanta. But we have seen on these back-to-backs where teams play each other, they move to the next city, they play 2 games in a row, that the same outcome doesn't always happen. And that's true as well with players and how well they perform. I think without Clint Capella, Reddish was out last game, but now he's gone. You don't have Kevin Knox, who's not going to be in the rotation anyway. It's not Okongwu on DraftKings because he's up at 4.8 now, and I'm not going to pay that price point for him. I would much rather play, say, a PJ Washington if I was going to go that route and pay that price. But John Collins at 7K flat is interesting to me here without Capella. The other thing, 2 guys that are going to see additional minutes tonight that should see at least 24 minutes, maybe as much as 30 minutes, depending on how well they're shooting the ball, that are under 4K. Hoop mentioned, really difficult night for value. DeAndre Hunter made his first game back, the other night. He dropped 20 in 24 minutes. It was a wrist injury. Conditioning shouldn't be an issue. He should get back to the 28-minute range here, perhaps. And then Danilo Gallinari, 3.8K. We've seen where he comes down under that 4K price point range on DraftKings. He has 34 point upside. Those are 2 guys I like here. I don't think I'm going to play Trey in this matchup. I expect that Butler will probably be in, and that's going to take me pretty much completely off of the Heat here.
All right. And JT, we got Phallic in the chat. He's saying he demands schedules. The schedule's up, K Phallic. So bring those charts. So add K Phallic with your favorite chart and he will deliver it for you. JT, tell the people that K Phallic's wrong.
I mean, the schedule doesn't change. This is like the New York City subway system. You know when the bus and the train is going to come. You know that Hardwood is at 4:45. You know that the Up to Lock show goes an hour before lock. And we try and help the new members in Discord when they say, hey, what time someone today? What time are the shows tonight? I was very helpful. I stayed silent and let other people hop on. So, I mean, people know when the shows are. But, I mean, I will say, Travis, there was a time when maybe you were a little hungrier when, Run Pure Sports first started, where the schedules would be up at 10 o'clock in the morning. Now you're living out west. You're skiing, you're hiking, doing whatever the fuck people do in Colorado. And there's just no schedules to be found. So I hate to side with K Phallic, but when he's right, I got to give the man credit. The charts never lie. I haven't seen a schedule in 8 months.
You're not looking in the channel. You must have turned the notifications off, which you can do that in the Discord chat, obviously. And you must have mistaken me for Draft Cheat. That's the guy who hikes from Colorado. It's not me. It's not Holden. That's DC, the one posting all that stuff.
And luckily for Sweet Travis and the people that demand the schedule, there is an update coming to the website where the schedule will be right on the homepage with all the important information. But long story short, like, we try to make it easy on the people. 4:45 Eastern every day, NBA Hardwood, hour before the slate locks. The guys are going to be talking all the way up to lock. Pretty self-explanatory. If you're new, yes. If you're new, you might need a little extra help in figuring that out. But the people that have been with us from the beginning, I mean, there's no excuse. 4:45 Eastern, we're here. The boys taking you up to lock an hour before the slate lock.
Real quick, we got news. Cam Johnson, he is ruled out. So that's some pretty big news there. That'll obviously help out, Jay Crowder a little bit. That'll help him out a ton. So also, speaking of schedule stuff, I don't know the time yet. Gotta look at the calendar tonight or make sure with Big T, but they're going to do a show tomorrow, I believe. Hoop, do you know? I don't know if you're on the show tomorrow or if you're just doing the Sunday one. I'm not sure, but do you know when the NFL show might be tomorrow before that 2-game slate?
1 p.m. Eastern, the boys are going live talking the NFL slate, the 2-game slate. And then on Sunday, we're going to roll out the Morning Wood, normal time, 10 p.m. Eastern. Have you covered a massive contest around the industry? I mean, $1 million to first, I think both days. We're going to have the Showdown content on Monday. It's a big weekend. RPS will be at the top of the leaderboard, though. That's one thing I know.
Yeah, definitely be at the top leaderboard. The 2-game slate, you'll get all those takes. And there's already tons of takes over here on our YouTube channel. That Print Factory show is up, so be sure to check that out. Let's dive in to actually, Hoop, you got to talk about the Heat game, right? But there's not much to talk about. I don't think you're going to give too much on it, but what's your takes on it? I mean, I don't know, maybe you'll surprise me here, but I want to wait for that news. And also, we just got Mo Bamba ruled out and Tristan Thompson ruled out for an illness. So injury news is starting to flow in here.
Yeah, we'll start to get some stuff. I mean, things will open up a little bit for sure. I mean, we're still hour and a half away from lock, so we're going to start getting some of this stuff. In terms of the Hawks Heat game, yeah, I mean, we got to see what's up with Jimmy Butler. Is he officially questionable? Yeah, officially questionable. Wouldn't be surprised if he returns. They're starting to get healthy, obviously. I agree with the DeAndre Hunter call. 3.4K, came back, played 25 minutes. I mean, you have to imagine in a close game that he gets at least that, probably a couple more. He could probably look at 28 minutes, probably the best, full punt option that we have on the slate. And, maybe people overlook it because he's only been back one game. But I think he's a really good value at 3.4K. Okongwe, he's fine, 4.8K. On the Heat side, one guy I do like in tournaments is this Yurt7. I mean, just a steady producer. And, on some slates, yeah, maybe we don't want to pay 7K for a guy like him. But tonight, I'd be fine. You're 38, 36, 38, 45, 32, 43, 42, 36 fantasy points in his last, 8 games. I will say, and you guys might bury me for this, Van Gogh probably will, what is the difference between him and Bam? To me, they're the same player. This guy is just very similar, I think, to Bam, just as good as Bam Adebayo is. Is that a bad take?
That's
I mean, he's been playing just as well. I don't think
Yeah.
teams have adjusted to him, but the price is up there now.
Yeah, it's up there. Yeah.
So,
But he's paid it off, though. He's paid it off for 3 weeks straight.
How do you think Butler back affects him, though? I mean, you think that's an enhancement?
Yeah, I think because it's not going to affect his minutes. I mean, it's just going to be probably some easier buckets for him, in my opinion.
The one thing I think about Yurt is I think he's a higher usage guy that can steal from the other guys, which hurts in fantasy for the other options, which makes it feel like he's better. But Bam is just so good defensively that it just helps so much for that team overall. But depends what you're talking. You're talking fantasy, you're talking like
I'm just talking in general. Bam, I think just Bam Adebayo is like super overrated, I guess is the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, you've always had it like you've always been against him, no doubt. I know that.
Yes. Yep. Semi-biased, but
I've heard quotes from the Heat like that, like Bam is like the heart and soul of that team, and I'm like, yeah, Jimmy is. I do think Jimmy is the way better guy. I've heard even Jimmy say that.
Well, that's bad news because they say that Bam might be back on Monday. I saw that earlier today.
For a little MLK day. So that'll be nice. The little MLK day slate that'll be coming up that will bring you all the content that you guys need. But let's slide over to another game. That's enough for that one. Let's talk about the Cavs and the Spurs. And DeJounte Murray has been on fire. He's 10.2K hoop. We've been talking about it all year. Like, I mean, that 9.5 or 8K price tag, whatever it was at, it could be higher. And I think, it's starting to hit that point, and he's like kind of the best play on the slate because of how bad the guys are at the top. It kind of feels like, but I just don't know if I have the value to do it. Maybe we do now with some of this news that's filing in. I think Garland at 7.8 is not a bad option in some of these big men against the Spurs to 220.5 total. Hoop, how do you want to handle this game? Because I think it's an interesting one from a DFS perspective.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about it all season long, and, the sites did a good job, I will say, of getting his price adjusted pretty quickly after we saw the hot start to the season. And he's just continued to do it all season long. He's a new player this year. Coming off a 73 spot against Houston. He's doing it all. Derek White's out again today. You look at the guys in the starting lineup, like all the usage is going through DeJounte Murray. 10-2 for Murray. Doesn't seem right, but it's right. Like that, he deserves this price tag, and I'm fine going there tonight if I can get the salary. It's crazy to say, like, do I want to play him or Steph Curry? Similar prices, same position. I think I probably prefer DeJounte Murray, and it just seems crazy to say that. On the Cavaliers side, or Jakob Poeltl too. I like Poeltl as well. 6.3K. He's just such a steady fantasy producer. I mean, you just look at what you're going to get from him. Probably 28 to 34 minutes. And he just continues to just get 30 pieces, 32, 33, 40, 30, 30, 40, 40. Just so safe. I mean, I will say this, like probably one of the safest fantasy options when you factor in his price, because his price doesn't move. They keep him right around 6K. He's been there all season in close games, which this should be. They're going to need his big body. 6.3K. I think he gets a lot of minutes tonight. I love Poeltl at 6.3K. And then on the Cavs side, not a ton here. Jared Allen is fine. Another guy, he's in that price range. Like if we can't go stars and scrubs, if I have to pay 7.7 for Jared Allen, I'm fine. But he's probably, he's the only Cavs guy that I'm interested in.
All right. I mean, it's a good game, but like, again, like I think it's better for the game stack. I think if you do play like a Murray, I might just kind of like go in on this game, JT. I think a Poeltl makes sense. You can load up on these centers, like Evan Mobley is an interesting option. And some of these guys are a little bit better on FanDuel too, on this Cavs side. I like the game a little, but again, I want some news to file in. I'm hoping this slate just gets absolutely flipped, right? I'm hoping like between 6 and 7 o'clock Eastern, it's just a wild slate and there's tons of news, and JSU is there leading the charge and leading you up to lock with Big T, breaking it all down for you guys. But JT, what do you want to do with this game? Maybe you really like it. Maybe you think DeJounte Murray is the top guy to just slam into all your lineups.
My gut feeling is the Cavs smash these fucking dreadful Spurs. I mean, that's kind of the way that I think this goes. It is DeJounte Murray and Poeltl, and then all these like nobodies. I mean, they've got Bryn Forbes, who had a good game against Houston, like every shooting guard does, but you got guys like him playing 30 minutes. I think if I'm going to play this, like maybe it'll be a close game. Darius Garland, point guard against the Spurs, is a spot that I always attack. They just do not guard that position ever. Rondo, I think, still officially questionable, so I like Garland even more. if Rondo is out. And this is a good spot for Jared Allen too. Price down now at 7-7. I'm probably not going to play any of the Spurs. This has been a tough matchup. Cleveland's actually turned into a team where I really don't target players against on most slates, just the way they play, just very, very good, very, very good down low. With Allen, Mobley, even Lauri Markkanen doesn't do a whole lot, but it's still a tough team to score against at times. And it is the first of a back-to-back for the Spurs. Popovich always does some weird shit on back-to-backs. So you know that he's going to save a couple of players for tomorrow. I'm not going to mess with that.
All right, let's go on over to the next game where we got two 10 o'clock games. They're on an island an hour and a half after this game. And if you want to play that late slate, obviously, it's a nice juicy one. These are two games that people have some interest in, especially the one game. I mean, it's going to be one that's going to gain some ownership, and who knows what news can hit in this one. Before we do that though, JT, again, the number 275, we got 474 watching. We're getting there. They're at 233. So give the people one last reminder so we can get the plays of the day out there.
Yeah, I need to get to 275 tonight. So that's only about a little more than 40 away. And I'm proud. I already had a member send me a DM in Discord of their exchange with K Fallick, asking him for a chart from the Sacramento Kings tonight. He said, no, that's the first request. You know how it goes. Sometimes you have to ask until you get the answer you want. So go ahead, keep sending that at him in the NBA Discord and ask him for the chart that you're looking for this evening.
All right, I'm putting mine in now. I'm demanding a Kings and Rockets chart because that's the game we're talking about next. And there's some good plays in this game, Hoop. I mean, one reason why this game is a good one is, well, look at that total, 240, and that's because the Rockets, well, what are the Rockets doing? They are playing terrible defense. They're playing at a fast pace, and this Kings team, they are home favorites at -5. Expect this game to be competitive enough where I think we want to get exposure to it. De'Aaron Fox and Halliburton both at some decent price tags where I think they can hit their ceiling, but you worry about playing them both together. I don't know if they can both get there. Then you got on the other side, Christian Wood, just still too cheap. Jayshawn Tate at 5'3", I like a little bit. And you got Porter Jr., Green, Gordon, all guys that are at price tags that can get the job done. So I think this is an interesting game to game stack, but you got to be careful about which pieces you put together. What do you like here, Hoop? Because I think this is a game that we are all going to want to get some exposure to and load up. We're going to be watching this game. If you go to the bar tonight, Hoop, you want to put that Rockets and Kings game on. Yeah. Make sure you get that one on while no one else wants to watch.
Good luck with that. Yeah, I agree. I agree with your point here with Fox and Halliburton. Individually, both really good plays. Don't pair them together. If you're doing an optimizer, if you're on SaberSim, I know that they don't necessarily have the rules, but do a set of teams that includes Fox and doesn't include Halliburton. Do a set of teams that includes Halliburton, not Fox. Make sure to not pair those two together. They just work against each other. And it's like one of the main problems with this team is the continuity. Those guys are they both need the ball in their hands, just does not work. Like them both individually for fantasy purposes, would not be looking to pair them together. Harrison Barnes has a cheap price tag, 5.5K. Back to playing the big minutes, had a pretty solid game. Another guy, pretty safe option. You think the floor here is probably 25, 26, and in this slate, you just cannot be picky. Richaun Holmes, is he in tonight, or what's his status? Is he questionable?
Still questionable, though. Yesterday they said he was day to day.
Yeah. So they ruled Tristan Thompson out. So if he's in, that's obviously a boost to Richaun Holmes. So if Holmes is fully clear to play, don't mind him. Buddy Hield coming off the bench. I think this is a spot where Buddy could have a big game against the Rockets. I mean, I could see Buddy just going off and maybe even breaking the slate, maybe like a 40 fantasy point game. Really like Buddy here in this spot. On the Rocket side, a little more difficult. I mean, this is a team that's, just a shitty team, and the rotations, there's no continuity to them. There's no, who knows what you're going to get with these Rockets guys, but Christian Wood at 7.4 stands out as a really, really strong play here. Should have his way in this game. Jayshawn Tate I like as well, 5.3K. We've seen big upside from him all season. It's probably where I'm drawing the line, though, on these Rockets guys. It's going to be Wood. It's going to be Tate. And then on the Kings side, I like Fox, Halliburton, definitely not together, Barnes, and then Holmes and Buddy Hield. It's probably the premier game though of the slate. 240 total. That's massive this day and age in the NBA. That's what it looks like 16 points higher than that Warriors Bulls game, which is in second. That's a big boy number. Points are going to be scored here. I think you definitely want some exposure to this game in majority of your lineups.
Yep, I love Buddy Hield in this spot, and I believe Holmes is questionable, but I do think if he plays, he's a great play, and that price tag of 5.5 is just too cheap. Like a lot of options in this game, I think it's a good one. I like Green a ton on the Rocket side. The thing I do like about him a bit, he's shooting guard eligible, and shooting guard is not always the easiest spot to roster guys, and everyone's gravitating to Jordan Poole. So I think that Green could be an interesting pivot. Kevin Porter Jr., he is a guy that has a ceiling at his price. I mean, we've seen him at 7.5K before. Yes, the situations have been a bit different, but at 6K against this Kings team that cannot guard the point guard position, he is definitely in play as well. I know he's been having some fits in there, and it seems like our guy K Falik is having a bit of a fit in the chat. Do you see what he said? He said it's the Sabbath. So he is saying he needs some rest. JT, any thoughts for our boy K Falik about that?
Yeah, a little bit disappointed when people do this. They use religion to shield themselves from their responsibilities. And K Falik in particular, because I know that he's non-practicing. He eats butter, he eats dairy, he eats all the things that you shouldn't eat. And yet here he is talking about the Sabbath. He'll be in discard until 2:00 in the morning. So I don't want to hear it. Let's get the charts rolling. Get them back for the people. Just put something out. Put something out to show that you have a heart and you care about these subscribers who, by the way, 21 likes away from getting the plays of the day. I will turn my camera off if we don't get to 275.
And we get no graphic, JT. I mean, it sounds like it's fresh off the press. I mean, who doesn't want it? Who doesn't want to bring that mojo going into a Friday? But break this one down, JT. This is one of the best games on the slate. Everyone's going to want to load up on it. What are you doing here with the Kings and the Rockets?
Yeah, I think the Holmes news is big because with Thompson out, I think you actually can play one of Bagley or Metu in this matchup, depending on who starts. But if Holmes is in, I don't think that you play them because I think you're going to see wild rotations in his first game back. I don't think he'll get full run in that first game back. So I think it would make that a little bit more unpredictable. I do like the Buddy Hield call from Hoop. I like that a lot, especially at 5'6". And then I kind of lean Fox over Halliburton in this matchup. I think this is a really good matchup for him. And then on the other side, I'm with you. I like Jalen Green. I do like Kevin Porter Jr. a little bit in tournaments. And, Tate at 5'3", okay. The one concern I have with Wood, he should smash this matchup, but Şengün is back. And that means that, are we going to see a few less minutes out of Christian Wood? Steven Silas does have some odd rotations at times. Now that Wood up to 7'4", I'm just not sure if there's going to be an impact to him with Şengün coming back.
Yeah, definitely going to be important. I think that Holmes news is really, really big, obviously. We don't got too much else to say about that game. We got the plays of the day coming up. We got JSU. We got Big T. They will be coming up, leading you up to lock. So be sure to check that out. And those guys hit the 278. So we'd love to see that. Let's go on over to the final game. Let's talk about the Dallas Mavericks and the Memphis Grizzlies. And Memphis, they played last night. John Moran has a pretty interesting price tag at 9.2K. Steven Adams is back, so that muddies up the water a little bit for some of those guys coming off the bench. You got your boy Kyle Anderson at 5.2K, which I rostered him last night. It did not go well for that lineup, Hoop. Very, very hurtful. And then we got Luke on the other side where he is expensive, but I think no one's going to go to him. And yeah, Luka hasn't been great, but you see the game against Chicago. He had 64. I mean, it's not like this dude can't do it. It's not like he can't get the job done. I think Ja and Luka are still in play as studs to pay up for tonight that might go low owned. So what do you think about those two guys specifically? Because I think they are really interesting options on this slate.
Yeah, I mean, in tournaments, I like that pairing because, I could see these guys with a little back and forth. And, I don't see many people doing it. I don't see many people going to Luka for the fact that we just don't have all that value. And then Morant, too, he's a tier below at 9.2K. So I like kind of pairing those guys together. And plus, you look at the rest of this game, there's just not a lot of fantasy appeal here. The Mavericks are just a very tough team for fantasy purposes. All these secondary pieces, interchangeable, mixing, matching, no consistency in what you see. So it's really only Luka. And then on the Grizzlies side, to me, Ja's the only guy that I'd want to play. So you can kind of get exposure to this entire game by just playing those two guys albeit it might be difficult because we just don't have that value. But if you are going to play one, I'd probably play the other too, especially in tournaments. Outside of that, though, outside of those two guys, there's really not much here for me. The Grizzlies are also a tough team. They have a lot of guys off the bench that contribute. They're getting Steven Adams back. Nothing stands out from a pricing standpoint. And Kyle Anderson, just don't do it, man. Ever. He's never the answer.
Yeah, he was definitely not the answer last night in that 2v2. JT, so, I mean, you got to talk to us about, you love some John Conn charts tonight. I know you do, but we got to talk about the chart that K-Falik posted in the NBA chat. Have you seen that? I can't say these words on air. That's how hurtful it was. Have you seen the chat, JT?
I gotta take a look. People are saying I'm dragging K-Falik. I'm not. K-Falik is my guy. We've had beers together. We are having some friendly banter. Can't wait to see what he did here in the NBA chat.
You got to see it. It was at 5:40.
Oh, nice. I like that chart. Yeah, let's get more of those charts, K-Falik.
That is, you came out on the winning side of that, Hoop. I mean,
yeah, I like where his head's at. He knows Hoop's preference, and the chart got it right. The chart got it right.
You got to get into the Discord chat to check that one out.
That's all right. He's going to go have a pat of butter now, and it's fine. They don't even have confession. He doesn't care.
Yeah. So, JT, though, talk to me about this game. I mean, I got conspiracy guys in the chat saying, well, Ja hurt himself last night, so maybe he doesn't play tonight. And I don't know. Maybe he doesn't play tonight. I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe the backload works out for you. It's not a great start to this slate. We got some news here where we got, I think Gary Trent is out and Scotty Barnes is a game time decision. So it looks like Wannabe is going to start. So we're getting some news here that's working its way. But I mean, if Ja got ruled out, I mean, that would just be the nuts. I mean, if you tell me he's out, JT, I'm going to backload everything, play those last two games, and I'll hit the nuts.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck if Ja plays or not. My motto with Memphis is, are there other players on the slate? And the answer to that is yes, thankfully. Even though John Conchar broke the slate, and of course we had Mangone in Discord this afternoon. I don't know why everybody's so surprised. I don't know why everybody's so surprised that 0.5% own John Conchar going for 40 DK points. But in all seriousness, on the Dallas side, these guys are all priced up. And I'm not really interested on this slate in guys like Finney Smith or Dwight Powell. On the Memphis side, I mean, I looked at how many minutes guys played last night. They're usually a team where they will play guys who didn't get run the night before just because they like to cap most of their guys at 25, 26 minutes. Those two guys, I think that might be in play with how weak the Mavs can be against guards are Tyus Jones and DeAnthony Melton. Probably almost definitely not going to make my main lineup, but they are, I think, some value plays that you could catch fire like with Conchar last night. And all of a sudden he gets hot and he just gets an extra 8 minutes, which is the difference between $60 and 100,000 for whoever had him.
All right. We got the lights up. The chat is on fire. We're having a good time. I even hit K-Falik with a nice little GIF in the chat. So it's good times over here at Rum Gear Sports. We're gonna have all the content up, right? We're gonna have the cash chart up. Don't you worry. I know you are scrambling. The core plays aren't up for the cash chart, JT. They'll be up soon. Don't you worry. We will have the SaberSim stuff. Obviously, we'll have the core plays, the BigT player pool, and they'll be leading you guys up to lock with the Up to Lock show. So be sure to watch that show. We got to go on to the plays of the day, though. It's one of the best parts of the show. It's the thing that the people want, the people need. We're gonna go to Hoop first for that rich parents play of the day. Hoop. Who do we got? Who is your favorite option?
Yeah, I talked about the Rockets and Kings game, getting some exposure there, 240. I think you want, some of these guys in your lineups, and some will be more popular than other. I'm going to go to a guy coming off the bench. We talked about him quite a bit. The rich parents play of the day is going to be Buddy Hield. He's going to get us 40 fantasy points tonight. 40 for Buddy Hield coming off the bench. Love him tonight.
All right. Love the Buddy Hield call from you. I can definitely approve of that. JT, have you seen the graphic of the Sweet Travis one yet? Did Helmet send it your way?
No, I haven't seen it. I can't wait.
Right, well, Helmet, let me
see the problem with the problem real quick with my graphic is I look at it and I would definitely bang my mom and my sister. So that's definitely that's not a good combination when you can look at the family picture and admit those two things.
Need to move south, Hoop. Need to move south if you want to do that.
I love the hairdo though, Hoop. It looks great on that one. And I love the guys that are always in the background, like Big T on the boat. But get that graphic up. I'll take kind of like Where's Waldo? Spot JT in it. I mean, it's good time. So my play of the day, we're going to run it back in that similar game. I think that's obviously it's one of the best games on the slate. It's a 240 total. I expect it to shoot out. I think you want to get exposure to it. I think the guy that I'm going to go to Jalen Green at that shooting guard position because I don't love shooting guard today. I don't need to throw in a Jordan Poole. I think he's fine. I think he's a good play. You can play both of them if you'd like, but Jordan Poole at 4.8K. I think not Jordan Poole, Jalen Green at 4.8K. You got to get exposure to him. The Kings against guards are absolutely terrible. And JT, I see you have found the graphic. Have you spotted yourself in the Sweet Travis graphic?
That is excellent work. Excellent work by Helmet Creator. I love it.
Oh, that is too good. You did a great job, Helmet. It's good times over here. Let's go to JT. Let's go with the rich parents. Let's grab Sweet Travis and all the candy and head on over to the Eiffel Tower play of the day. JT Hayes, we got a game stack for the late guys. So are you joining us on that one or are you going to another spot? Who do you got?
Man, Steve Anthony, very hurtful, saying Hoops plays of the day seem to have the most success rate. They are very good, but I mean, outside of Darius Garland, who only went for like 40 the last time I had him, I had Gallinari, I had Dame before he broke his stomach the night he went off. I mean, that's pretty hurtful. But anyway, so I was going to stay in the same game because I really think this is a spot where De'Aaron Fox just goes absolutely nuts and smashes. But our guy, Gary, USCG, told me that at 2:23 p.m. he took that play as his own in our Discord today. So I'm going to let him have it. As we've been talking about all show, we need these value plays to make our mid-range type of lineup work. We need something that's going to let us get Fox and Hield and Jalen Green into the same lineup along with some of these other guys that we like. And it's going to be a guy from the Hawks. It's going to be DeAndre Hunter, 3.4, too cheap. He got 25 minutes. Remember, the Hawks lost that game by something like 26 points. It wasn't competitive after halftime. I think this game, if it stays a little bit closer, or even if it doesn't, because they want to get him some minutes, they want to get him some work, they want him to be a key piece of this rotation. DeAndre Hunter at 3.4. He has 30-point upside tonight.
Yep, he definitely has some upside there. He's a nice cheap option. We gave you a ton of different values to get some exposure to on this slate, so you can spend up for any stud that you guys want. Again, coming up next, we got JSU for the Up to Lock show, so be sure to check that out with him. He'll be there with Big T. They'll be talking everything. They might be talking some Saber Sim. They'll be leading you up to lock with everything that you guys need. But we're going to get on out of here. Thanks a lot for joining us. For me, Mangone, Hoop, and JT Hayes. We will see you guys later.